Cross-carpeting has been a trend since the First Republic. Now, when members of the NCNC, led by the late Nnamdi Azikiwe, crossed en masse in the Western Parliament to the Action Group, which was led by late Obafemi Awolowo. Now, the recent cross-carpeting by federal lawmakers has caused an uproar in the Nigerian polity and has raised many questions in the minds of Nigerians, especially that of the Senate President Bukola Saraki that just happened recently. Now, today on Inside Story, we shall be looking at the implication of Saraki's defection on the Senate and on his seat. Now, joining me in the studio to talk about this is a veteran of the Senate Press Corps and one-time spokesman for Senate President Taiwo Adisa, and he's also the political editor of the Tribune newspaper. You're welcome.
Thank you very much.
And also here is Umeza Ajayi, political correspondent with Vanguard newspaper. You're welcome. It was great having you, Umeza, here again, and you're welcome here as well. Now, let's get straight to the activity of the day. Now, starting off with you, Taiwo. It's another season of defection. Sure. And the polity is being heated. What comes to mind?
Yeah, it comes to mind that if history is repeating itself all over again. So surprising, because it's the same trend. Usually, when history wants to repeat itself, it drops some elements of the past. But this one is just completely a replica of what we have seen before, particularly what we saw 2013, 2014. And it's surprising that the political actors of today did not learn from what happened 2013, 2014, or what they themselves did 2013, 2014. And they are allowing it to repeat itself just the same way. So surprising. But it's interesting that we are witnessing the trend again. A lot of people are already predicting that 2022 we are likely going to see such trends again.
Yes.
It's interesting, very good.
Okay, how about you, Umeza? Now, with all this defection in the polity and all of that, what first came to your mind when you heard about it all?
Well, these things are always expected when elections are close. Like he said, history is repeating itself. The interesting thing is that the actors have not changed. So when he said history is repeating itself like almost 100%, that is why, because it is still the same actors. These were the people who in times past also did what they are doing now, several months to the election, and they are doing it now again. So for me, I think it is healthy. So the APC, PDP, they are the same. So these things are expected. They always cross carpet. Okay. Because what matters to a politician, they are not statesmen. What matters to them is the next election. And the next election is just by the corner. Okay. So it's expected. They will begin to move, go to where the interest will be best protected.
Okay, now back to you, Taiwo. Now let's quickly take a look at the movements. Now, can it be compared to that of 2014?
Exactly. That's why, like I said before, that history is repeating itself. Completely 100%. It's comparable. I say that, I've not seen 5 governors going, but it's around the same cycle. You've seen Benue governor going back to PDP. He was a member of PDP. You've seen Tamboa, who was speaker and the leader of what I would call quote-unquote insurrection in the house against the PDP at that time, coming back to PDP, the same party. You've seen Saraki, who was also quote-unquote leader of that similar insurrection in the Senate, although it was tempered in the Senate at that time. But he was the leader of the opposition, the people that wanted to defect. Though Senate President Mark was able to manage it, it did not boomerang on the floor of the Senate. But he led the others and they cross-carpeted in their various constituencies. Eventually, he has come back to PDP now. So it's in the same magnitude, you can completely say it's the same thing. And it's also interesting in the sense that the characters are similar, and what you are also looking at is the same. What you are looking at is the presidency. The presidency of Nigeria was at stake 2013, 2014, 2015. Now the presidency of Nigeria is at stake again, 2019. And it's interesting that we are following the same path.
How about you? Do you agree with that? Which was that of 2014? Can it be compared to now?
Yes, there's a lot of comparison. Like I said, the actors have not changed.
Okay.
What is going to make the difference is the outcome. What impact is this going to have? Well, it has had some political impact. Is it going to have electoral impact? Is it going to affect the outcome of the 2019 elections, as it did in the last general elections in 2015? I think that is going to be the basic difference. But for now, what is happening is just a semblance of what happened in 2014.
Okay, now back to you, Taiwo. Let's talk about the defection of Senate President Bukola Saraki.
Yes.
Did it come as a surprise to you?
Well, it didn't come to me as a surprise at all. It didn't come as a surprise. Well, what I would say is surprising is that he kept it for that long. Because I was surprised that he was able to stay in there for that long. From 2015 May, thereabout, you already know that Saraki had become an outcast in the APC. Though he helped them to win the election, though he helped them to get a majority in the National Assembly, immediately he showed his hands that he wanted to contest the Senate presidency. The party got divided along three lines. Some people wanted Akume, some people wanted this current Senate leader, and some people wanted him. But he was able to work with his colleagues, former colleagues in the PDP, and he was able to get the seat. But as soon as he got the seat, also, you saw the drama on the day on June 9, 2015, when the entire National Assembly was shut down. Nobody was allowed to go in. Was not allowed to. None of the reporters or correspondents was allowed to go in. And it took the intervention of the social media. We had to post the message on the social media before the presidency was able to intervene and call the IG that, okay, journalists, you go in, and all that. They wanted a kind of the scenario that we saw in Benue. Maybe just a few selected people would be allowed to enter into the National Assembly, and then they would do their thing and all that. But it didn't work out at the national level, so we were able to gain. And from that day, Saraki knew that he was a madman in the APC, and everybody watching the politics knew that he was a madman in the APC. That he was able to sustain it for this long is what will come as a surprise. But it didn't shock me that he left APC.
Okay, now back to you, Umeza. We're still talking about Saraki's defection now. How damaging could it possibly be to the APC, and how rewarding is his defection to the PDP?
Well, if we want to look at the past, when they left the PDP for the APC, we saw the damage they did to the PDP, and how that's translated to gains, politically electoral gains for the party they joined in the APC. But now the scenario might not have changed much. It's just that the players, the power brokers now, because the PDP, they were in power. Now you have the APC in power, and the people we have in the APC now, because they have been in opposition for quite some time, they seem to understand that they have power. They have tasted it for 3 years, and they will not want to let it go just like that. So, but even at that, it's still going to be. It's going to have a lot of political damage for the APC. People are discussing it. A lot of opinions here and there. We just said that even in Kwara, some at the local government level, the chairman, councillors, they are defected. If these are grassroots politicians, if they maintain the grassroots, if they still have that connection with the grassroots, you know that in the next elections, it is going to cause a lot of damage for the APC. This does not mean that the PDP, I am not postulating that the PDP will win the general elections, but even if they do not win the general elections, with the number of people that have left the APC now, the APC, they're also saying that people are coming to their party, but human beings are equal. But still, when you look at the quality, political quality, of these people who are also moving to the APC and those that are moving to the PDP, you know that a lot of big wigs have moved into the PDP than those that have moved into the APC. So for me, I think it is going to impact so much. For instance, the votes from Kwara. Even in Kanu, the president scored 1.9 million when Kwankwaso was there. Definitely, I doubt if that is going to repeat itself again. He might make an appreciable impact there, but with Kwankwaso, Shekarau, and Ambassador Wali in the PDP, definitely Kanu is not. It's not just for anyone for the taking. It's going to be maybe 50-50 for
Let's
him.
look at Senate President's 20-paragraph letter. You must have read his 20-paragraph letter on his defection.
Very
What do
well.
you make of it?
Yeah, I think as a politician, he has to give a background to what he's doing. He's made up his mind some months back, that he's going out of APC. But he has to lay a foundation for it. He has to showcase to us, the people, oh, this is what I've gone through, and this is a basis and foundation for why I have to go to where I was before. So I think he chronicled almost everything that I had gone through. He chronicled both all the things I could put on the table, because as a politician, it's not everything that you can just put out there. As a statesman also, it's not everything that you can put out there. I think he chronicled what can be said, and what the people may want to know to justify his position. I think it's justifiable. If you are in a particular party, you are supposed to be a senior member of that party. I had for a long time, most of the NEC meetings they had, they don't consult him, they don't allow his input and all that. So a lot of things that we've had, so a lot of things that he put in there, I think are justifiable for him to leave the party as he did.
Okay, now, how about you? Do you agree with that? Now, okay, let me even now. Some people said he was even more grateful than Tamboa, someone like Tamboa, when he was defecting. At least he acknowledged APC chairman and the vice president. Umeza, do you agree with that?
Well, you know, he's a number 3 man. So at that level, your language is tempered. You know, Tamboa is the governor of a state, and is among those that people are referred to as the young thugs. You know, so we can't compare their language. But what the Senate President said in that statement, you know, he catalogued everything that happened to him, the travels, and that even when he was ready for reconciliation, there were people who were just bent on pushing him out of the party. And of course, it is obvious because some of us knew he was going to leave the APC at a certain point. Because it was just a week after the president was inaugurated that his problem started. I think it was June 4 or June 5 when the National Assembly was June 9. Yes, when the National Assembly was inaugurated. So it was that day that his problem started. So all the things he said, because if you look at, you will recall that even that day that he issued that statement, having resigned from the party still went ahead to publish a query issued to him. The query was dated that same day. You know, for somebody that had resigned, what was the need to have published that? You know, it wasn't as if you had sent the query to him before he resigned. The man had resigned, but apparently, maybe to embarrass him, I wouldn't know. The statement was still released. You know.
Okay, still with you, Umeza. Now, do you agree that Saraki could have stayed back in APC based on peace talks, or he was just playing politics with that comment?
No, you see, there was a time the president foreclosed the further negotiation with the RAPC, and whether we like it or not, when you analyze issues, you know where Saraki belongs. You know, RAPC, they were in talks, they were having talks with the vice president, they were to meet the president. Later, the president foreclosed NPDP. Yes. You know, later the president foreclosed the further negotiations with that group. So if the president had done, that was why when Oshomole came and he was, you know, running up and down trying to troubleshoot here and there, personally I felt nothing tangible was going to come out of that, because the president, the man who is the one to dole out patronage, you know, the man who is in charge, the man says he's no longer interested in talks with these people, and then you are the chairman of the party. On what basis are you going to negotiate? Would they have been negotiating with these people? You know, if he had reached agreements with this new PDP or the RAPC, would the agreement or the resolution have been binding on the president? You know. So for me, that troubleshooting effort, it was neither here nor there. So for Saraki to have done that, he saw the handwriting on the wall. In fact, some people believe that this decision is coming too late. That he should have taken this decision last year or early this year. But apparently, he wanted to be through with his cases in court before taking such an important.
Okay, how about you, Ty? Would you agree with what he just said?
Yeah, very well. I agree with him that a lot of people expected him to have left the party long before now. A lot of people believed, who have watched the politics, believe that he considered so much to the APC or APC system, probably believing that there will be peace at the end of the day. Eventually, the party was not ready for that peace. So his eventual departure from the party was not just orchestrated to an extent. It was written that he just have to go. We cannot work with him. We cannot place him in our party. And I think a lot of APC leaders are a bit afraid of the Saraki personnel, so to say, that, oh, this man, if he could take on the political system in his own home state, with his father being one of the political victims along the way, they could take on anybody. So probably they felt that they have to just ship him out, so that they could maintain the structure of their party and run it the way they like.
Okay, now some members of the PDP's House Rep caucus now were at the National Assembly yesterday night to stop what they say was a plot to convene and impeach Saraki. Now, is this remotely possible for that to happen during recess and for Rep members to intervene in Senate matter?
Very well. The reps, House of Reps and the Senate, they occupy the same chamber, the same White House, it's the same parliament. We just have two chambers. It's one parliament that we have. We just have two chambers. You know, whatever happens in one affects the other, and whatever affects the other affects both of them. Like you saw the day the Senate was invaded, the House of this year, the House of Reps suspended its sitting, and a whole lot of them went into the chamber of the Senate to solidarize with them and to pass a joint resolution right there. That was not the first time. During Naba, that also happened when the Senate was having a leadership crisis. The House intervened to try to make peace inside the Senate. The Senate has also done that under David Mark. When the House was having problems, the Senate intervened to also make peace. So it's one house, really. So the House of Rep members can do that. They can keep vigil in the National Assembly to make sure that there is peace. But we have to take the conversation further than that. That's like resorting to motor park democracy, so to say, if I may call it, because our rules are very clear. When the chamber is on recess, the only person that can call back that chamber is the leadership of the either the Senate or the House. It has happened severally. I can't count how many times. There have been emergency sessions, and the emergency session will be called by the leadership of the chamber affected or the two chambers, if all of them have to come together and come back. Now, it's not for one senator or 10 senators or 20 senators or senators of one party to come around and say they want to open the chamber. You can't open the chamber because it will be legal, it will be criminal. In fact, it will be close to a coup against the country, because the rules are very clear. Once the Senate is on recess, once the House is on recess, only the presiding officer can call them back. And when they are called back, it's with implications. It's not just call them back as if they are your boys. When you call back the chamber from wherever on a recess like this, you have to pay for wherever they are coming from. You have to pay them. You can't just call them back because they are already on recess. Now, as to whether they can call short their recess because of passage of a bill or whatever, they can call short a recess for emergency reasons, but not just for routine things, because they are entitled to the recess. It's like the situation of the judiciary. You can't say that because there's a case of murder that must be judged, the Supreme Court should call off its recess when they are on recess for a particular time. So it's normal that they should go on recess, but it's abnormal for anybody to say you want to convene the House through illegal means. We shouldn't contemplate that.
Okay, Umeza, do you agree with that it is okay for Reps member to intervene in Senate matters?
Of course, we've seen it play out often and often. The two houses are interwoven. They're like two sides of the same coin.
Okay.
So what affects one affects the other. But on the issue of reconvening the House, you see, anything can happen in this country. In politics, everything and anything is possible. You recall when the late Chuba Ogazi his village with the mace. Then it was because there was a plan to impeach him. The Senate were on recess, and some people were trying to reconvene forcefully. And the man took the mace and went.
I know it was a joke. It was just a political joke. Just to deceive his enemies.
In this country where a sitting governor was if not all, was abducted, it took the effort of some other security agencies who didn't want to be seen as being too pliant, to stop that abduction. So if a sitting governor, the chief security officer of a state, could be abducted, is it impeachment? We've been here when some minority members were used to impeach state House of Assembly speakers. So our democracy is still evolving. What we have, you see, somebody told me of recent that Nigerians, we are not programmed for democracy. Our own type of democracy is still like militocracy. That is why you can have a minority member, even in Benue, minority members going into the house and serving an impeachment notice on the government. So it is possible, but I believe that with the level of awareness in this country, in spite of the misgivings that some sections of Nigerians might have against the national parliament, I think anybody who will want to forcefully reconvene the Senate might just be trying to test the patience of Nigerians, and I don't think Nigerians will be that patient with such characters.
Okay, now back to you, Taiwo. Now, as someone who has covered the National Assembly for years, now do you think Saraki would lose his seat, especially if APC remains the majority in the House?
Well, the setting in the National Assembly currently, in fact, since June 9, 2015, that setting is difficult to undermine. I mean the setting in the leadership of the Senate particularly. The setting is such that a two-party arrangement. It's the first time we are seeing that, particularly in the Senate. And but it's difficult to undermine or to outweigh it because the coloration of the parties, the configuration of the parties in the chamber makes it difficult for either of them to get two-third majority that you can use to remove a Senate president or the deputy Senate president. You recall that one of the problems they put on, one of the sins, quote unquote, of Saraki against the APC is that it did not allow a Kwerimadu to be removed. But the rule is such that the number that you need to remove Saraki is the same number you need to remove a Kwerimadu. So Saraki will not allow you to get that number because it could be a double-edged sword. If you use it against a Kwerimadu, what will stop you from using it against him? So you cannot get the two-third. So you cannot remove Saraki, whether he remains in PDP or even if APC gains more majority tomorrow. You cannot still remove Saraki because you cannot get the number. You need 73 senators. And now, according to the Senate leader, APC has 52, PDP has 50. But when you look at those 52 and 50, you see that a lot of people, their interests are either here or there. Some of the 52 that APC is counting includes members of the PDP, people who were in PDP, who were lured into APC by Saraki. So when you do the calculations, you see that you are really on a tight rope when you are looking for numbers. Okay. So it's difficult to impeach him, whether he remains in PDP or the APC regains majority.
Okay, now to you, Umeza. Now, what do you expect on September 25th when the Senate resumes with Saraki now in the PDP?
Well, there could be attempts to remove him, as played out in some state assemblies, even though we know that certain things that play out in state assemblies can hardly play out at the National Assembly. But in politics, never say never. In Plateau, when at the onset of this administration, the PDP were in the majority in the state assembly, but they had to elect a speaker from the APC because the governor was from the APC. They elected a speaker from the minority. In Kogi, it was the same thing. In fact, the speaker was initially of the PDP in Kogi with an APC governor. But along the line, the governor was able to bulldoze his way, muzzle his way through. And some people defected some members defected to the APC. And then the stage was now set for the APC to elect their own speaker. Now, at the Senate, when they reconvene, we are not going to see them discussing developmental issues. For me, that's why I'm scared. Because what we are going to be seeing is politicking. People, even now, the PDP, they are claiming to have the majority. The APC, they are claiming to have the majority. So, by the time they reconvene, the issue of the Senate leadership will have to be settled. Who has the majority? If it is the PDP, then the Senate leader has to come from there. So, if it is the APC, then Ahmed Lawan will still retain his seat. And the APC national chairman yesterday, Oshomole, said if you belong to a family and because by virtue of your membership of that family you were given a crown, well, you now decide to leave that family for another family, that the right thing to do is to drop that crown. So he was making allusions to Saraki's Senate presidency, that having left the APC family for the PDP family, he should drop that office. So we are going to see interesting times, from that September 25. I believe from this statement from the APC chairman, they will try to do everything to see that Saraki loses that seat. But practically, I do not see how that's
going to happen. How about you? What do you expect come September 25th?
Yeah, you see fireworks. You see a lot of fireworks, political fireworks from the APC wanting to show that it's there. It's not out. It's not down or it's not out. You also see fireworks from the PDP trying to contain, because now Saraki is in PDP, so we can say from PDP. So safely, we can say that PDP is in control of the Senate now. The Senate, the deputy is from PDP, and he is also going back to PDP. So you're going to see a lot of fireworks coming from the politicking within the parties. First of all, you have to settle, like you said, you have to settle the issue of leadership, because that's very critical. Because that's one defined issue in the parliament. You have to know which party is in majority. Although the issue of the Senate president or presiding officer really is something that the Constitution is silent about. You can come from any of the parties. You can come from any senator. What qualifies you to be the presiding officer is your membership of that chamber, not the party that you belong to. Whether party A has overwhelming majority or party B has overwhelming majority does not count in the rules of the Senate or in the House. Or even the same thing goes for the Houses of Assembly. The party that you belong does not really matter. What matters is how many of the members are supporting you on that day to make you to get the simple majority. It's just simple majority to become the presiding officer. It is when you become that presiding officer, to remove you, you now need 2/3 majority of the members, which is a very difficult task. So you see a lot of battle. You might also see a lot of some things that the presiding officers have kept under the table, maybe in trying to preserve the APC before, in terms of investigations and all that. You see some things coming out now more than before, because this is an opposition party versus the party in government. So you see more battles at the level of investigation, more public hearings to add some things that have been kept under the table before.
Tambuwal did that when he was speaker. When he was trying to fight Jonathan, what the House practically did was to embark on several investigations. Through which they were unable to unearth so many shady deals, so to speak. And that alone, to some extent, served the purpose for which they were doing that, because some voters were like, so this government could be this, so they had to switch their minds to say, okay, let us vote for the APC. So that can also play out by the time they reconvene.
Okay, we look forward to seeing what happens with the reconvene. Now, Taiwo, you have seen as many as 4 senates. Correct me if I'm wrong. Now, how would you? How am I right?
Yes.
Okay, now,
Yeah,
how would you compare Saraki's plight against, for instance, that of Adolphus Wabara, who we worked for?
plight. Well, the difference is that Saraki, yes, was on the same party with his president, but they were not of the same mindset from ab initio. Wabara was on the same wavelength with President Obasanjo for a long time. Before they started, let me mention this: that before the election of 2003, President Obasanjo had made up his mind that the next Senate president will be Wabara.
Okay.
That once he should go and contest, once he wins his seat, he will be his Senate president for the next session. So before that election, going to that election, it was already clear to Obasanjo that he wanted this man. Because the politicking that took place before then, that's 2000, 2001, 2002, has played up a lot of personalities in the Senate. Wabara was in that 99 Senate. So, and his name was coming up one time or the other, but politicking then threw up another person up to Ayim. Okay. When it was it was in contention when Ayim was eventually picked. But when Ayim fell out with Obasanjo, so Obasanjo now had to come to him and say there were plots to actually ensure that Ayim did not finish his tenure. But Ayim was able to outwit all them to outmaneuver the plots. And so from November thereabout 2002, Obasanjo had made up his mind that this is the person he was going to work with when they come back. And eventually they came back and they were working along the same line. They were working together. Wabara had no inkling that Obasanjo could move against him. And all that. But the third term thing was coming, which we didn't know. It was coming in parables then. A lot of insights came into us. And I recall that we had an emergency meeting of the staff with him. And based on the intelligence report that we were getting then, we told him that if we could there are a lot of battles were ahead from that January, that if we could survive up to August of 2005, he will finish his presidency. That was based on some of the intels we were having. We didn't know that Obasanjo was going to apply the sledgehammer, so to say, on our ant. So, and when Obasanjo saw the links that they had together, he had to apply the sledgehammer and on an instant basis, so that there was no time for second guessing.
Okay.
And such that all the people that connect them together would not be able to intervene. That was how he was able to go to national television to say, oh, I saw this, so I saw this and that. At least make the thing a national matter, so that nobody else is able to intervene. And then the thing is already in the market. That they say that the mad person is already entered the market. So you can no longer close him. So that was what happened to Wabara. As for Saraki, I think Saraki was conciliatory largely to Buhari, to the president, to the government of APC. Because if we take another person, for instance, all the things that he had been put through, this CCT, every other day you are in the court, this one, that one, that one. If it's another person, you just have damned the consequences long ago. You have crossed to the other party and take it up as a battle. Okay, if you win me, it's fine. If I win you, I win you. He will have exposed so many things about the government. He will have it is easy for the parliament to put the government in trouble.
Yeah. More
than the other way around. Then the government has structures, but the parliament can audit a lot of things, and the constitution empowers them to do that. And when they are auditing it, what the people want to know is, oh, this thing is happening, and you'll be scandalized. So, but I think he was able to manage it, thinking that there will be peace at the end of the day, pending, holding down so many things. Eventually, it turned out the way it is.
Okay, now finally and quickly now, Umeza, as a key political journalist, now for you first now, what do you make of Saraki's political future? Senate chamber or also Rock in 2019?
I do not see him bidding for the presidency. At least as far as I know, I have not heard a concrete statement from Saraki's end. He might have that interest, but certainly I don't see that interest being playing out this 2019, I think his concern would be how to get the PDP to power.
Okay.
I do not see him present. He might, well, politicians, he might present himself for presidency, but that might not even be his aim. I think his aim first is to get the APC out of the way.
Okay.
As for his political future, well, they will tell you, because we are religious, they will tell you our future, it's in the hands of God.
Yeah,
But there are issues in Kwara where he comes from. There are people like those in the PDP, some of them have gone to the APC saying they cannot work with him because some of them feel that the Saraki family have been in power for quite a long time and they want to break that political dynasty. So he is going to encounter challenges even in his home state. But with the number or with the quality of people behind him, breaking that Saraki dynasty might not just be, it might not be now, it might not be in 2019. It might happen in the future, maybe in 2023, but it's 2019. I doubt if it is going to be very possible for those who are working against him to break that political dynasty.
Okay, now how about you, Taiwo? What do you make of Saraki's political future? Senate chamber or Asuro or otherwise?
Well, I see him mostly in the Senate, back into the Senate chamber. He's been a master of Kwara politics, so to say, having taken over from his father. So he's mastered that terrain very well. And like some people would comment in Kwara, if you talk to them, they say, well, we don't have party in Kwara, Saraki is our party. So it's been like that for some time. Yes, it doesn't mean that some people will not challenge. There will be challenges, but at the end of the day, you see Saraki. I don't see him having problems winning his Kwara Central Senatorial District back. But I also see him playing a lot of roles at the national level.